Justice Jackson is a natural hair content creator that makes tutorial-style videos and Afro art. She's been creating content for 4 years now with 184,000 followers on Instagram and 1.9 million on TikTok. Justice is currently in the process of establishing her own brand. Today, I am joined by Justice. You maybe know her as BigHeadJustice on all of the socials. Welcome to the podcast. How's it going?
Thank you so much for having me. It's good. Thank you.
We love this. All right. So, Justice, if you wouldn't mind, tell us how you got into beauty content creation.
The reason I got into it mainly was because I was always obsessed with knowing more about my hair. That was the main thing, that I revolved my life around since middle school. So originally I first started posting art videos on TikTok back in 2019. And then eventually I tried out hair one day and the video did pretty well for such a small account. So I just continued doing it since that was more so my passion than art.
Wow. And what a following you have amassed since 2019. You are known for, as we are seeing you here on this podcast recording, your crown, this beautiful, incredible, large amount. What is it like in terms of maintenance for your hair? I mean, what products are we using? It's so good, and I know that you do a lot of talk about this on your videos, but I'd love to get a sneak peek behind the curtain.
Yeah, so I do a lot to maintain it throughout the week, especially when I'm not creating videos. Typically, I use a leave-in conditioner. I like the As I Am leave-in conditioner. That's the one I recommend to all of my followers. And I usually follow up with some kind of oil if I can, which is typically the OGX weightless coconut oil spray. And I try to twist my hair at night to keep it from tangling, but sometimes I don't do that because I'm lazy and it takes about an hour. So sure. That's my main routine throughout the week to maintain all of it.
Wow. It is incredible. And if you're not watching and you're listening, you'll just have to take my word for it, or go to the show notes and see where Justice is at BigHeadJustice, basically everywhere. All right, let's talk a little bit more about the content creation process. So you talked initially about how you were doing art and then you transitioned into hair. Since you've been really full throttle on hair, what does the process of development for content look like? How do you think through what a video is going to be, what style you want to execute, what angles? I just want to know everything.
Oh, it's actually more complicated of a process than some people would think, actually. Typically what I do is on Sundays or Mondays, I'll go through my comment sections, the most recent, most popular videos that I've had that week. And I'll look at comments of people saying what they think I should do next for a video. And I'll usually take that into consideration for my next week of videos, just so that I'm giving people what they want and I'm also doing what I want at the same time.
Have you ever found that people want something that you're not interested in pursuing? Or is it mostly people want what you want and therefore it all works out?
There is a lot of things people ask me to do that I really don't want to do, which is probably the one that I get asked the most, which is straightening my hair. I'm not interested in straightening my hair anytime soon, unless my hair is at its peak health. I don't plan on straightening it anytime soon.
Yeah, I was imagining that was going to be the question. People seem to be obsessed with that very thing. And I can imagine that that's frustrating. And that's your choice. Talk to us a little bit about some of these more viral looks. So we're talking about specifically the Christmas tree situation, which was incredible. Loved it. And there's been some logo work in your hair. I just how does this come into your mind? And then how are you executing this?
A lot of the ideas that I get is mainly, again, from my audience. They usually give me tips on what they think I should do. And for the looks like the Christmas tree afro, it was obviously seasonal. I wasn't going to do that in July. Sure. So everyone kind of knew it was coming up since I have been doing seasonal looks pretty much all of 2022. So everyone was like, you got to do a Christmas tree. Obviously, we know you're going to do a Christmas tree, do a Christmas tree. So that's
you had to give them what they wanted. I got it.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I did. So the more complicated, the ones that people don't really ask for are the non-seasonal looks, like the Snapchat logo that I did, the Instagram logo, that stuff. I just decided to do that because it kind of seemed like a natural progression, because I had done a sunset afro, and then everyone's like, oh, the sunset looks like Instagram. So I was like, I guess we'll just do Instagram, and then I'll do Snapchat.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. In terms of like the execution of such a look, because you got it to a T. I mean, when we're talking about like the Snapchat logo and the Instagram, like it was, so mirrors are involved? Like, talk to me about this.
Oh yeah, so the Instagram and the Snapchat logo, those definitely, I obviously had to do it on, the Instagram one was on the front of my face. So I had a spray paint, like hair paint thing, and I did the normal sunset, and then I just sprayed the logo on the Instagram, which was it was obviously the most easy because it was on the front.
Yep.
But when it came to the Snapchat one, most people know this, but the white afros are wigs. It's not my real hair. I think that's pretty obvious, but to some people it's not. So I usually like to do the back. Obviously, I'm not going to make it harder on myself and do
put it
all
on
that to the back. So I just took it off, put it on my wig stand, and sprayed the back for the Snapchat logo. But for the Instagram one, I actually had it on my head so I could actually get the look correct.
Amazing. Talk to us about what's been your favorite look. I mean, we talked a lot about sort of what your audience is requesting and requiring of you, but like what, when you're reflecting on all of these transformations, are you most proud of, where you're like, wow, that was cool. I love that.
There's one that I really enjoyed, which was the Kirby afro that I did. I don't know why I didn't do it sooner, to be honest, but when I finally did do it, I didn't think I was going to execute it properly. So when it came out looking like, because I didn't even have to put the title on it and people knew what it was. So I was really proud that I got it that accurate.
Talk to us about another theme, which is hair growth. TikTok, as you very well know, tends to be obsessed with things. And one of those things is hair growth. How do you navigate that? What products have you used? What do you advocate for your followers to maybe try or experiment with based on your own experience? I'd love to hear that.
Oh yeah, that's a main question I get all the time. You're like, what are your secrets? Stuff like that. I would love to say I had a secret, but I don't. But the main thing that I did that helped me grow up my hair as long as it is definitely keeping it in twist and braids and stuff. When I was like younger, like when I was like 16, I did a lot of box braids and twists as protective styles. And I don't do them as often because I have to create content, unfortunately. So my hair's struggling like a little bit because I should be keeping it like moisturized and whatnot, but I can't really do that often. But I recommend everybody to do protective hairstyles as often as possible and to moisturize their hair to deep condition every week and to moisturize their hair every other day if they can, for sure.
And you already gave us some gems in terms of product recs, but would you mind? We're product junkies on this podcast. Let's be very clear. People are obsessed with knowing what everybody else is using. So to keep things hydrated, what would you recommend? What have you found success with?
Recently, I've started using the Miche leave-in conditioner, and I've really enjoyed that. They sent it to me, and I actually really, really enjoyed it. So I've been putting in a lot of videos. And another thing is the Miche mousse that I really like. One product that I've always used, or a couple of products I've always used, is the African Pride pre-shampoo. I use that to detangle every single week. I always repurchase it. I have about 5 in my hair product shelf that I have. Like, I have so many. And then the Shea Moisture Manuka Honey Deep Conditioner. I've been using that for probably about 6 years consistently.
I mean, everybody take notes, rewind, play it back. Talk to us a little bit about, there's been some scandals on TikTok of late in terms of people, content creators, hawking things that are maybe not effective or that ultimately they don't really believe in. So you just mentioned, I mean, like, you like things that have been sent to you, and as a result, you feature that in your content. Have you ever receive something from a brand where you're like, this is just garbage and I'm never ever gonna, I mean, talk to us about that process too.
Yeah, there's definitely been a couple of products I've been sent where I was just like, this isn't gonna happen. I'm sorry. Like, for example, Diva Curl, they sent me their entire line when they were just in the heat of their whole
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
thing going on about the lawsuits and stuff that they had. And I'm pretty sure it was like, you know, it was definitely a situational transaction because they knew they were getting some flack and I just heard about it. So they had sent it to me when I had asked. And I was like, oh, and I use it on myself. Just maybe it's different for me. Maybe I'm different. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't different. It didn't work very well for me at all. It was not very great.
Ooh,
Yeah.
well, I don't love that for you, but I do
Mhm.
appreciate the honesty, and I know that our listeners will as well.
Mhm.
Certainly, you're not the only one to have had that experience with that line.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what are some other lessons that you've learned while doing all of this content creation work? Because you are on so many different platforms. I'm sure some of it
Mhm.
works for some, but not all. Like, talk to us about, in reflecting on this career now that you've got for
Mhm.
yourself. What are some lessons that you've learned?
Some lessons that I've learned is mainly to not entertain hate because I used to do that a lot. And especially with what I'm doing, all the crazy stuff I'm doing with my hair, not a lot of people like it. So some people think it's pointless and it's a waste of time. And then others think it's so amazing. And, you know, it's art basically, which is what I'm trying to portray. But some people don't see it that way. And I've accepted that not everyone's going to like what I'm doing.
Mm,
So
mm.
yeah, for sure. That's one of the things that I had to learn the past 4 years. And another thing is that sometimes videos only do well because the algorithm on that certain platform, because I repost and stuff like that. Some
Yep.
videos on TikTok will like get 30 million views, yeah,
Yep.
skyrocket. And then then on Instagram we'll get like 10,000. I'm like, and I can't get discouraged about that because it did well on one platform. So
Mhm.
it's not about the content necessarily. It's about maybe the day that you post it sometimes.
Mm. That's a good insight. I think that people maybe do just get discouraged, as you said, by the
Mhm.
immediate. And if it's like, oh, there's a big difference, then it's something that I've done. But yeah, you're right. Like ultimately, we're not in control of who is seeing this content per se. So,
Right.
oh, good gems. Returning for a moment back to when we were talking about some of the wig work that you had done.
Mhm.
You had mentioned that you wish you could do more protective styles more often because you are working in the medium that is your hair. When you're
Mhm.
working with wigs, how are you taking care of your natural hair? What are you prepping? How are you doing it? What products are you using? Again,
Mhm.
product junkies are all over the place
Right.
on this podcast.
With the wigs, that's when I noticed the most hair growth when I was using them for a couple of months straight. Obviously I did do my real hair in between, like
Mhm.
having the wigs and such, but mainly I would create content with the wigs for about 2 weeks and I would keep my hair in mini twists and I would re-moisturize my hair every other day. And I would keep those in for about 2 to 4 weeks at times. And then I would typically use a spray leave-in conditioner or a normal leave-in conditioner, like the As I Am leave-in conditioner, and then have some water on it too. Um, I think mainly I just use any spray leaving conditioner that doesn't have isopropyl alcohol in it because a lot of them do nowadays. So those dry out my hair really bad. When I notice something's drying out my hair, I know it has isopropyl alcohol in it, and I check and it always does. So I have to make sure it doesn't have that in there. But other than that, I use anything that's actually healthy for my hair and anything I have on me at the moment. But I prefer the As I Am conditioner.
Mm, mm. Amazing. Well, thank you for sharing that. Again,
Mhm.
we're all product junkies. We love to hear this. People are going to be
Mhm.
feverishly adding things to cart all over the place. Okay, so much of what you're up to in terms of your own content features color. And I want to talk to to you about this because you are developing your own line, which is available for pre-order, and we're going to plug it.
Mhm.
How did you know that like color was going to be your niche?
I kind of figured around 2020, I knew I was going to implement it a lot more. Um, I originally wasn't implementing it as much because the other brands that I was using were a tad bit drying and I didn't know what ingredients were in there because like they didn't have it on the back. So when I would use it, I could only use it like maybe once every month before like, I had to like I couldn't do it anymore. So when I did start using it more often as of 2022, my hair was getting extremely dried out. And I was like, I can't keep going on like this. Like, I don't want to have to use wigs in every single video with hair paint wax. That's kind of whack. So I think I'm going to I want to have an option for me to use and for other people to use. So I decided to have that option out for other people as well.
So, I mean, that makes total sense. But how did you get to the point of having your own line? So, I mean, hair paint, this does not happen out of nowhere. So like,
right.
How did you find partners? The colorway, like, I want to know everything. Just lay it on us. How did you come up with the name? Like all of it.
Oh yeah, of course. That's the main thing that even like launched this whole idea. I knew that I wanted to sell hair paint wax last year, but it wasn't until I was approached by a team of people that could help me bring this all together that said that they want to help other influencers come up with their own brand and whatnot. And they helped me throughout the whole process, like the website, the product, finding the suppliers for certain things. Like they're helping me with the shipping and whatnot. And they're an amazing group of people. They're really patient. And there's no way I would have done this as quickly as I would have without their help. So I'm really glad they came at the time that they did.
Well, I love it. Talk to us about sort of, I mean, again, Afro artist, which I think speaks to what we talked about at the very start of the podcast, which is you were doing content creation with art and now it's turned into hair art. And so like the naming makes sense. How did you land on the formulation, the colors? Like what was important to you in terms of making this brand come together?
For me, the name, I knew what I was going to call it as soon as I had the idea pop into my head. I knew it was going to be something with Afro and art. So I was deciding on like Afro palette or something like that, like something art wise, but I decided Afro artist, like the AA made a lot more sense. So, and the people I was working with loved it as well. So we agreed on that. And when it came to the colors, choosing out the colors was one of the more, I was trying really hard to think about what actually made sense. And I tried to have all the primary colors in there if I could. But one color I am missing is yellow, which I have to like get that worked on really soon, hopefully. But so right now we only have brown, blue, red, green, and white. And I'm really glad we got white because that's one color that everyone's trying to achieve. So at least we have that so people don't have to damage their hair with like bleach to get a white color. They could just put that on if they can.
Which is so important. I mean, I think that this is maybe not discussed enough within the wider hair industry, which is that we can compromise hair's integrity by lightening in a way that is really detrimental. And with a paint as your line, it can do exactly what you just said. You can lighten without harsh chemicals and create the look that you're looking for without doing anything detrimental to your hair, which we love. And certainly people out there can experiment much more often if they've got, the option to wash out and try something else again.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so talk to us about, if you wouldn't mind, what retailing this product has been like. It is one thing to sort of go through the development process. It is another thing entirely to get people interested in it and purchasing. So what are our distribution channels? Talk to us a little bit about that.
The main thing that I'm doing right now, obviously, or what I can do with my resources is through my social media, like following and the audience I already have. And because they do trust me to a certain level, they're more likely to buy from me. So I trust more so me pushing it out there for right now and getting the name out there first. And then eventually I do want to expand to something larger to where people can get it, where it's like right there in their face. But for right now, I've just been promoting on TikTok as much as I can, on Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, as often as possible.
So for others who are in your space of they're doing it independently, they're not necessarily interested in like a major distribution deal with other beauty suppliers at this moment. What are some recos that you've got? Like, what are some lessons you've learned in terms of what works, what doesn't work, what you've seen people interested in doing in terms of converting or not?
I recommend getting into, you kind of have to know the people that you're marketing to, and they have to already be in you. For me, it was a lot easier because I already had an audience that was interested in what I was already doing. So selling hair paint wasn't that far of a reach, because like it would be different. I was selling hairbrushes, or like, no, not hairbrushes, makeup brushes to people that are only interested in hair. So formulating, like gathering an audience of like before you sell a product could build that trust before, you're just like, oh, just buy my thing so that, I can make money. But like, yeah, that's pretty much I don't, because if I had done that, I don't think I would have as many orders as I'm having right now, for sure.
Well, speak to us a little bit about that. I mean, you mentioned like cultivating that audience is important potentially. Other people have done it the other way around, which is maybe not advisable. Before launching a product to them, how do you keep your audience engaged with you? How do you keep them interested? I know you talked about looking into comments and sort of seeing what they're interested in and then building content around that. But now that there's product in the mix, how do you respond to what they're wanting? How do you keep your eyes on the combos and the fingers on the pulse of what they're wanting from you?
Right. The main thing that I try to do is anytime they have some kind of question when it regards to the hair paint, I try to give them an answer as soon as possible, and maybe make it in the form of a video if I can, so that it's interesting for the person that asked the question and for other people that maybe also have the same question. And I try to make all of my videos as interesting as possible so that it doesn't just seem like I'm selling something. It's also fun for me because I've been doing this for so long, but I want it to be something people can also look at and just enjoy, and also something that people can be like, oh, I want to do this too.
Love that. All right. Well, before we get into our quick takes and we let you go, I want to make sure that you can plug yourself. So if you wouldn't mind, Justice, if people are not already following you, how can they follow you? How can they access Afro Artist?
Oh yeah, they can find Afro Artist at shopafroartist.com. And they can also follow our TikTok and Instagram, which I just created. It's called Shop Afro Artist on Instagram and TikTok. And if you guys wanted to follow me, then I'm on Pinterest, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and the name's BigHeadJustice.
Easy. We love that. All right, let's roll into our quick takes. These are the questions that we ask of all of our guests. Don't want you to think about it for too long. And we're gonna go. What was the first ever product that you remember owning specific to beauty or hair? That thing that you were like, I've got to have this. You either asked somebody to get it for you, or you saved up your coins and you got it for yourself.
Probably a hair pick. I think that's the first tool. I remember looking at it. I was really interested in the way that it looked, and I just eventually learned how to use it.
Perfect. Are you superstitious? And if so, about what?
I feel like I am. I believe in like the evil eye. So I try to keep people that don't have my best interest away from me as much as possible.
I mean, solid tip for everybody out there.
Right.
Nobody wants that in their lives. If there were a biopic about you, who would you want to play you?
I would like either, if I could, Zendaya or Storm Reed.
Dream casting. Sure. We love that. I want that for you. And maybe it'll happen sometime soon.
Oh yeah, hopefully.
Fingers crossed. What do you consider to be the ultimate comfort food?
The ultimate comfort food? My favorite food is definitely tomato soup. I really love tomato soup. Some people think it's weird. I love it.
No, I mean, honestly, we've heard basically everything under the sun, but I don't think that I've heard tomato soup. And I also enjoy tomato soup. So why not? Love that. Okay, last question that we've got. Say that you're on a deserted island and you can only bring 3 beauty/hair products. What are you bringing? The caveat being, You don't have to worry about food, water, say like you're good. But we just want to know, like, what are the 3 things that you're like, I've got to have these things with me at all times?
I would say a leave-in conditioner, as I am leave-in conditioner for sure, my favorite, and a hair pick or a comb, definitely probably a hair pick. I can't have my hair getting all non-voluminous, and probably sunscreen. I'm really into sunscreen lately.
Makes sense. Amazing. All right, Justice, thank you so much for coming on the Volume Up podcast. It was a pleasure to learn about you and what you're up to. I'm a big fan now. I gotta get into, I say this to everybody, I don't do TikTok nearly enough, and I really should. And you've convinced me that I need to actually give it another shot.
Yeah, for sure. You really should.
I know. Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much.